Warning: the following video contains explicit language, which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready? Hello everybody, it's Jeff. Rainy and snowy here where I'm at, and a little bit cold, but not very cold. Actually, it's still pretty warm for this time of the year here. I mean, I know there's a lot of areas in northern Maine that saw its shares of snow, and down in northern parts of the country. As a whole, I guess, it's getting there. It's like it just keeps missing, half of the state. But anyway, everyone's been talking about that CEO from United Healthcare that was assassinated, I guess, for being shot in the back. It's not really a murder. I don't think it is anyway. I mean, it's more of a hit, an assassination, okay, than anything. And they got it on camera too. They show the guy walking up behind the executive, and he has time enough to really point that gun at the fellow, and he shoots him in the back. And then somewhere along the way, he dropped his cell phone. And he got on a bike, and one of them bikes, I guess, that you pay to use. I mean, that's that's something that's been a recent thing that cities have been doing. They have bikes that people can pay to use to get around, which is okay. But that's what they have now. And so he used one of them and rode his bike to Central Park. He had a little backpack on him, and people think that he had some clothes that he could change into to try to throw off hunters, people trying to find him. But he screwed up, I think, when he went to what was that, Starbucks. They got him on camera with his mask off. Okay, he had the thing that was up here. He pulled it down when he was in there, and he bought himself a coffee. It's just another example of what I said in the previous video about how you just can't really commit a crime in public without getting caught, because there's cameras everywhere. This is the new America, people. You think you see where the cameras are, but you don't. Okay, there's a lot of cameras that you don't see that are positioned in various places in your town, in your city, and there's so much that police can go through to find out where you are. And of course, they found the cell phone that he dropped, which, he made a phone call just prior to doing what he did. And, they'll be questioning the individual that he called. And when he ate at that Starbucks, he had, he drank, and then he had some protein bars, I guess is what they call them. I don't eat those, but he had a couple of those, and he took the wrappers and he threw them out. So you got possible DNA evidence there, So he left a trail behind him. So people are saying that it was a professional hit. Well, if it was a very sloppy professional hit, because he's left a lot of evidence in his wake, and it's only it's only a matter of time before an arrest is made. I'm sure they're probably already on his ass now. I mean, it just it seems like it would be an easy easy find, okay? So, you know, by the time you see this video, he might already be arrested, you know? So that's what everybody's been talking about. And, you know, here's the funny part of it, is that instead of, you know, people bitching about gun violence in this country, people are just like, you know, celebratory that, oh, we got rid of a CEO of a healthcare company. And I'm like, and I ain't joking, because, you know, there was a little online poll that was taken, and I don't remember exactly how many thousands answered it, but 80% of it was all people that were, you know, glad that the fucking guy was shot. Now, I can understand where they're coming from. A lot of people in this country have been fucked up the ass by the healthcare system, okay? They make you pay for your coverage, and then when you need it, they say, no, we can't give you that coverage. You know, you had a pre-existing condition or something like, I mean, I'm talking before the ACA, okay? You know, there's a long history before Obamacare was introduced where, you know, there was so much of that shit going on in this country, it was laughable. They were people were paying these high prices for coverage from different companies, and they just wouldn't cover them. And I remember on 60 Minutes, they interviewed some people who worked for these companies, who were the ones responsible for approving or denying claims, you know, to their clients. And they just, you know, some of them said they couldn't do it anymore. It was too, you know, it was getting on their conscience that, you know, there was someone they knew fighting cancer, and their policy was ended while they were fighting cancer. Wouldn't pay it no more. And they wouldn't pay out. And so, you know, it haunted these people for a long time. And these were the things that, you know, we were, as Americans, we were seeing from the press, trying to help along the idea that we needed to have healthcare reform, which is what Obama was pushing back then. But because the healthcare companies were so threatened by that, they got their fucking Republican buddies, you know, they put their lobbyists in there, and they influenced against that. Okay? Think about that for a minute. These people were standing up for denying people their coverage. Okay? And obviously, who benefits from that? The corporation. So that's an example right there of when I tell people that Republicans only stand for the rich, that's an example right there what I'm talking about. Okay? These people paid big money to lobbyists to lobby certain Republican senators to oppose, you know, Obamacare, and then try and scuttle it, you know, after it was passed, okay, when we had the ACA, because that's, I mean, Obamacare was the nickname for the ACA because it was Obama that started it, right? And the Democrats wanted people to remember that, but apparently we did such a good job of making sure people remembered that everybody thought that Obamacare and the ACA were two different things. Okay? And so a lot of people that were being interviewed by, you know, people, you know, that do these internet shows were asking people about Obamacare, and it says, they can get rid of Obamacare, but I'm glad I got my ACA. You know, the Affordable Care Act, okay? And it's like, huh? You know, so we did too good of a job of you know, calling it that, but the Democrats should have never done that, because we actually fooled the Republicans to a fault. And they didn't realize that when Trump was running, he was talking about the ACA, you know, but he kept calling it Obamacare, so he took advantage of that confusion, okay? He made people think that they were two separate things, you know. Was very clever on his part. He was paying attention to what was going on in, you know, in the way we perceived it. So, yeah. Anyway, I got a video here. It's 13, about 18 minutes long here about this incident here, and you'll get more of a analysis of it. So let's watch the video here.
All right, guys, bear with me here. Just doing a video off the top of the dome. Earlier today, the United Healthcare CEO was killed in a premeditated murder. It appeared to be very professionally done. The person was able to hide their identity. They were able to use a silencer on their pistol. They hopped on a bike and got out of there real quick. This CEO was going to some sort of a meeting. I actually think he was going to discuss some kind of a merger. And just before 7 a.m. in New York City, in the middle of the city, he pulled up, killed him with a pistol, with a silencer, shot him in the back, walked away, hopped on a bike, got out of there, and escaped to Central Park. As of the recording of this video, I do not know if he's been found yet. There's no reporting that he has been found. It's very possible that this dude ends up getting away. And so I wanted to wait a little bit to make this video to get a little more information about the motive of the guy who did the shooting. Of course, the initial reaction from myself and many others is like, motive, we know what the motive is. This is not a difficult one to determine. It almost certainly is a client of United Health. Remember, this is a big health insurance company. And United Health, for example, is number one among the insurance companies with denying claims. Namely, they don't pay out in many instances. If you have some sort of a problem, you need funding, you have a surgery, they reject more claims than any other health insurance company. So, of course, the initial reaction is there's got to be a disgruntled client of United Health and basically getting retribution because, you know, whatever, fill in the blank. The person's wife was denied their claim, or they went bankrupt as a result of United Health denying their claim, or any of a number of nightmare scenarios that unfortunately impact many Americans. Remember, guys, medical bankruptcy is the number one cause of bankruptcy in this country. So I thought it's got to be that, right? But then on the other hand, I was like, well, you know, it's also possible that, I don't know, this executive dude was a gambler, got into debt with the wrong people, like maybe some mob-related type stuff, and then this was like a professional hit that was done because he didn't pay back his own debts from gambling debt or whatever the hell it might be, right? So I wanted to wait a little bit before I recorded this video to get some sort of validation. As of right now, we don't have full verification, but we do know that this CEO's wife came out and said, yeah, he'd been getting threats for a while because of what he does for a living, because he's the CEO of United Health, and there's all these claims that are denied, and people are furious, and medical bills are the number one cause of bankruptcy, and he had been getting threats for a while. And so I think everybody's initial reaction is probably correct, that it's somebody who was denied for whatever reason, had a nightmare scenario with United Health. And here's the thing, man, if you're going to narrow down who did this solely based off of who's disgruntled and who hates United Healthcare, you're down to what, tens of millions of Americans? Because I don't know about you guys, but everybody I know has some sort of horrific story with our health insurance system. So let me explain, for those of you who don't understand, let me explain the way health insurance works in this country, okay? Health insurance is nothing but a mafia middleman in between you and your doctor. So you sign up for it. Every month, you pay them. And then when you actually need them, they go, yeah, maybe not, we'll cover it. Submit a claim, right? Hey, does it fall under the list of things that we pay out for? And so basically all they do, get them between you and your doctor, skim off the top, get profit for themselves. And of course, the way these corporations function is they want to maximize profit as much as humanly possible. And they have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders to maximize profit as much as possible. So think about it. In the realm of health insurance, how do you make the most money that you possibly can? This isn't difficult. Deny as many claims as possible. Charge as much as you can, and then deny as many claims as you possibly can. And there are whole departments for these insurance companies where they try to find loopholes and reasons to not pay out in your moment of need when you actually desperately need healthcare. So look, I have to say, the surprising thing about this is that it didn't happen sooner, is that there haven't been, by this point, dozens of examples of health insurance executives getting murked on a regular basis. And what I said to Crystal after this happened is, look, this is So the right-wing reaction when somebody loses it, I mean, we've seen it a couple times where some right-winger will go to like an FBI office or something and will try to shoot up the FBI office. I remember that happened a few times when Trump was president. And it's like, okay, that person lost it and they blamed the FBI for their problems. They blamed the deep state for their problems. That's what they're doing. This is somebody having that same mental snap, but they connected the dots in a different way. They connected the dots to who is actually making their life a living hell. If you've gone through medical bankruptcy, I'm sure you are absolutely furious. Your blood is boiling. You have seething anger that, you know, your life and your finances were effectively ruined because a health insurance company didn't want to pay out on a claim, right? If you lost a loved one because of shenanigans with health insurance companies where they're not paying out or whatever it may be, you're furious, right? So I'm surprised this hasn't happened more often. I'm surprised we don't hear about, in an attempted shooting against a different health insurance CEO or, you know, the big banks and the people who are responsible for foreclosing on countless people. I'm surprised that doesn't happen more often. Because again, the right-wing version of it is, I don't know, my life sucks, I guess I'm mad at the deep state, right? I'll go attack the FBI building. This is somebody who just connected the dots and said, wait, this is the real enemy. The real enemy are the insurance companies that are making colossal amounts of profit and denying care as much as possible. So look, it was going to happen. This was going to happen. If you screw people over long enough, if you deny them care, if you price gouge them, if we have effectively a broken healthcare and health insurance system, this was going to happen. And guess what? It's going to happen more. This is only one of Lord knows how many moving forward, because if people start to actually connect the dots, they're going to realize who's really ruining their lives, right? How the profit motive has ruined this country. How, in many instances, things that should not be in the realm of capitalism, in the realm of profit, in this country, we privatize almost everything we can, right? With few exceptions. We even have private prisons in this country. There's public prisons, but of course there's private prisons. Well, what a perverse incentive structure. You're going to have private prison lobbyists lobby the government to make more things illegal or come up with things like 3 strikes laws. And the whole point is, let's get more asses in more beds behind more bars to make more profit. The profit motive doesn't belong in the conversation about prisons. The profit motive doesn't belong in the conversation around health and health care. Virtually every other developed country has found a way to do this in a more intelligent way, where they say, look, capitalism can't handle this, the profit motive can't handle this. We can't have for-profit health insurance companies. That's crazy. You're just incentivizing people to get price gouged and for people to have their care denied. And so that's what a single payer system is. It's no for-profit private insurance. It's the single payer is the single insurer. That's the government. So in other words, your healthcare gets funded through everybody's tax dollars. We all pool our money together. Anybody who needs healthcare gets healthcare, and it comes directly from the government. The government is the single insurer for everybody. And now it looks like everything's coming to a head, right? Because again, number one cause of bankruptcy is medical bills. They denied more claims than any other company. There was another article or story that came out today around the same time, which said this guy brought in reforms that made it so AI overrides actual doctors. So a doctor might say, this is legit. The insurance company needs to pay out on this claim. You know, we're doing X, Y, or Z with this patient. And this guy had an AI system that would say, no, the doctor's wrong. We're not going to pay out on this. Like, what did you expect to happen, right? Like, what did you expect to happen? Did people think you could just screw everybody over from now until the end of time and that would be the end of it? And people would just tuck their tail in between their legs and walk away with their head down? Like, is that what you thought? Because that's not the reality. By the way, everybody needs to notice something here. So there's a video of it. I'm not going to show the video, but there's a video of it, of the shooting happening. And go read the comments. Go read the comments underneath the video, wherever it's posted. I think it's on YouTube. It was on Twitter. It was a number of different places. You read the comments, and people are going inski. Not against the killer. Not against the killer. Now, why? Why did that happen? Did everybody wake up today and decide they're randomly pro-murder? Is that what happened? Do you think that's the reason they're doing it? No, people are reacting like that because they understand how broken and grotesque and backwards this vicious system is that puts people through a meat grinder and acts like it's normal, right? See, this is the thing. For some reason, there are plenty of people who, when they think of violence, when they think of a crime, they think of like, okay, look, just an individual who goes and robs a convenience store, let's say. And that's bad and that's wrong and that's condemnable and everybody condemns it and all that, right? Great, okay. But oftentimes, there is systemic violence, which some people bake into the cake, into their mental model of how the world works. And therefore, they just sort of write it off. Like systemic violence, that's part of how things are done. It just is what it is. Almost like, oh, I guess there's nothing you can do about it, right? But that's kind of a trick that society plays on you. And it's not true that there's nothing you could do about it. There's always something you could do about it. And so this is just people finally being fed up with the fact that we have systemic violence in this country, which is viewed as acceptable because the people perpetrating it are billionaires on Wall Street wearing nice suits and nice ties and speaking properly and walking around the cocktail circuit, right? There's a weird thing that happens where some people accept that passively. Well, I guess if the violence is just part of a system where there's a health insurance company and the health insurance company gets to reject my claim and I go bankrupt from medical bills, or there's all sorts of fuckery and I don't end up getting the care I need because of the health insurance company and my wife dies or whatever, well, I guess that's okay. Well, no, there's also plenty of people who have woken up and they say, no, that's not okay. And systemic violence is not only equally as condemnable as the random acts of individual violence, which we just talked about, like robbing a convenience store or whatever. In many instances, it's worse. It is worse to have the violence baked into the system and everybody just passively and casually accepts it. That can be worse. That can be worse. It's like the idea of one random murderer who goes and kills somebody, right? So, everybody easy. Oh, okay, that's bad, that's wrong, we don't agree with that. But put a uniform on that person, say they represent an official government, put the veneer of seriousness around it with different laws and rules and, pass a resolution saying we are declaring war on country X, Y, or Z, and all of a sudden it's like, well, I guess that's more legit. I guess that's more serious. And well, it depends, doesn't it? It depends. Who are you fighting? What are you fighting them for? Is it defensive? Okay, I guess that's fine. But if it's something like we're seeing in Gaza right now, for example, where Israel is just massacring innocent women and children on a regular basis, well, we're supposed to say it's okay because the IDF soldiers are wearing uniforms and the children they're killing are not wearing uniforms? That's systemic violence, state-sponsored violence, system-approved violence. And I think we're at a boiling point now in this country where people are onto the trick and they understand that system-approved violence is still violence. There is no institution more violent than health insurance. You could say maybe the military, right? That might be one example. Maybe the private prison industry. That would be another example. Mercenary armies, so like private armies, that may be another example. But the whole point of private insurance is a unnecessary, for-profit, rapacious mafia middleman that robs you and gets in between you and your doctor, price gouges you, and then tries by any means necessary to deny you care. By the way, what does that even mean? We're going to reject a claim. What does that mean? If somebody's sick and they go to the hospital and they need help, you need to submit paperwork explaining exactly what's wrong, and then somebody gets to choose whether or not to pay out on that claim, even though you've been paying every month to that health insurance company? So you give them money every month. Let's get this straight. You give them money every month. Something happens. You go to get help. Then somebody looks at it and goes, we're not going to pay out on this for reasons X, Y, and Z. You're just asking for a revolution. You're just asking for violence. You're just asking for people to violently dismantle that system. Because that is a violent system. That is violence. So, I don't know, man. This is, I can't recall any other example of some health insurance company CEO getting killed. But I have to say, my reaction was like, I'm kind of surprised this is the first one I've heard of. This is something I would kind of expect moving forward, insofar as people are connecting the dots as to who's really ruining their life and bankrupting them and casually accepting the death of their loved ones without doing everything possible in order to prevent it. Right? So it's dark, bro. It's dark. I mean, these companies, these health insurance companies, make billions of dollars in profit. Billions. The CEOs make millions and millions. They deny so many claims, and they're price gouging you all along. The fact of the matter is, in any reasonable system, for-profit health insurance companies wouldn't exist. We would have a single-payer system. You know, everything would get paid out by the government through our tax dollars. If you ask me, man, hey, make a system from scratch, prioritize what should be funded by our tax dollars, literally at the top of that list is health insurance. Everybody's health care gets covered by this money, right? I'd much rather give my money for health care for people than give my money for corporate welfare and subsidies for billionaires like Elon Musk, or endless war like funding Israel as they bomb babies in Gaza. You know, I'd much rather have my money go towards the necessities, the bare minimums. You know, make sure everybody has whatever, social security check, make sure the roads are paved, make sure we have police to keep people safe, but also make sure everybody has healthcare. And so there you go. By the way, don't take my word for it. You go look. You go look at the comments underneath all the places where this video is posted of this person murdering this United Health executive CEO. You go look. Go read the replies. Go read the comments. People are joking about it. People are outwardly saying, like, hey, you fucked around and you found out. Stuff like that. That's what people are saying. So where does that phenomenon come from? That's my question for you. Did all these people wake up one day and say, you know what, I'm pro random murder? Is that what happened? Did everybody wake up and decide that? Or are there people who are connecting the dots and they're saying, hey, we're onto it. This system is organized violence. This is systemic violence, and it's ruined countless lives, and we want it to end. So we'll see. I mean, look, I guess there's still a small chance that this murderer did it for other reasons. Like I said, the theory I came up with was there's a small chance it's possible this executive had gambling debt or whatever, and the mob clipped him. It's possible because it looked very professional, right? But I think the default theory everybody's going with right now is it's somebody whose life was ruined or they lost a loved one or whatever directly because of United Health, and they're like, fuck it, I'm gonna take matters into my own hands. Because according to the system, what these guys do is legal and acceptable. It is legal to price gouge you on the front end and deny you care on the back end. It's legal, right? So, I don't know, man. There's a lot of anger at the system. It's absolutely understandable anger. And, you know, you need a release valve, right? That's what FDR's New Deal was. FDR's New Deal was like, people are angry, they're pissed, there's going to be pitchforks in the street, there's going to be a revolution, the United States is going to go full communist. Let's not have that. Let's have a release valve here. Let's do the New Deal. Let's get people working. Let's set up the social safety net. You know, let's tax the wealthy and redistribute to regular people. Like, you needed a release valve. Well, guess what? It has been decades and decades and decades since we've had a release valve, right? Obamacare was okay. It was a slight movement in the right direction. It was better than no reform at all. But at the same time, you still kept the core of the cancer in the system. The core of the cancer being for-profit health insurance. And so, look, it looks... Again, this is what happens. I'm surprised there's not more of it. And there very well may be more of it, right? Because you put your middle finger up to people for so long and said, shut up and accept the systemic violence. This is the reaction, bro. It's like a law of nature. Getting mad at it is like getting mad at the weather, right? Do something to actually address the core of the problem. We need to nationalize health insurance and make sure everybody has health care and nobody gets denied a claim for any fucking bullshit reason and nobody's price gouged on the front end and denied on the back end. It's not that difficult, right? It's not that difficult, but we're so used to having this capitalist hellscape where everything's got to be for profit, everything's got to be to make a buck, and people get rich off your misery. And this is what happens. So there you have it. I'll give you more updates if/when we get them, but that's what it is.
So with that, and I want to add here that since Trump is poised to try to get rid of the ACA, all those Republicans that were out there saying how glad they have it, I guess they can kiss that goodbye because Trump's going to take that away, right? So again, it's another example of the MAGA nuts out there fucking around and finding out, you know. And what happens to them, unfortunately, is going to happen to us all. And anyone that thinks that's a good thing is completely drunk out of their fucking mind. Let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me!
This is me.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Ruth McLaughlin, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me. This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you. Original.
Hello, it's your favorite president. Now that I made all our deportation dreams come true, we reclaimed every single job that was taken by illegal immigrants. And let me tell you, folks, there were so many. I call them brown jobs. Jobs we were born to do and do what Americans do best.
I carry this old guy to the bathroom about 3 times a day. I gotta go.
And now America can get back to work like it's never done before.
I used to stay home and watch Real Housewives, but now I got to work 3 shifts in a row.
I hate other people's children and their poop.
So let's get busy, America. Go do all those brown jobs you wanted so much.
Let's go, ladies. Those beds won't change themselves.
Uno, dos, tres.
And show the rest of the world what we are made of. Look at me, I am doing a brown job too, but just for
men
10
and women in uniform need real leadership at the Pentagon. Character, courage, honor, experience. Those are what a real leader brings to the fight. Pete Hegseth isn't just unqualified to be Secretary of Defense. He's embarrassing, sick, struggles with alcohol, drunken rages in bars and strip clubs, fired from 2 veterans organizations for financial and personal misconduct. While at Fox, Hegseth paid off a woman after she reported he sexually assaulted her. Pete Hegseth's own mother calls him an abuser of women. These aren't the qualities of a leader. They're weaknesses for our enemies to exploit. Pete Hegseth isn't just unqualified. He isn't just unprepared. Pete Hegseth is downright dangerous for our troops. He's a risk America can't take.
Hello, I'm Patrick Stewart. I believe in helping people in crisis, whether they are from Lebanon, Ukraine, Gaza, Sudan, or any troubled area around the world. I ask you to join me in supporting the International Rescue Committee's life-changing work. The IRC is on the front lines of humanitarian crises, and IRC teams stay on the ground as long as they are needed, so displaced people can rebuild their lives. Your support today matters. It can provide medicine, emergency food, critical supplies, and many life-changing programs. It is a gift of hope when families need it most. I've seen the difference caring people like you can make. So please, if you can, make a gift right now.
His pants for her pants, everybody's wearing his pants. In the household, his pants for her pants, everybody's wearing his pants. In the freezing cold, his pants for her pants, everybody's wearing his pants. In the nighttime, his pants for her pants, everybody's wearing his pants. For her pants, everybody's wearing his pants. pants for her. Everybody's getting into his pants for her pants. Everybody's getting into his pants for her. Everybody's getting into his pants for her pants. Everybody's getting.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Get down from there. Come on, get down. Ugh, cat. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Yeah, I got another video here. It's about 6 minutes long. It's about a bill that got passed in Louisiana that's going to cut corporate income tax and increase state taxes. So it's a lot of people are upset with that, and let's go to that video there, and they'll discuss that.
The Louisiana GOP, it's a Republican-dominated legislature, and it passed tax cuts on personal and corporate income in exchange for a statewide sales tax increase on Friday. But in a surprise to no one, it actually just helps the rich people. This is reporting we have from AP News. Critics warn the tax reforms would primarily benefit corporate shareholders and wealthy taxpayers, while the sales tax increase would exacerbate Louisiana's regressive tax system, where poorer households have a higher percentage of their income on taxes. And here is what they passed. Lawmakers approved a flat 3% individual income tax rate, leading to a $1.3 billion cut. Previously, the personal income tax rate had stood at 4.25% for people earning $50,000 or more. As part of the legislative package, lawmakers doubled the standard deduction for seniors and nearly tripled the standard deduction for individuals, effectively eliminating income tax on the lowest income households. Of course, they have to help the wealthy, so here is that plan. The state's new corporate income tax rate will be a flat 5.5%, reducing the highest tier from 7.5%. Governor Jeff Landry had wanted a 3.5% flat rate. Louisiana's corporate income tax rate had been the highest in the South, according to the Tax Foundation. So let's not forget that regular people pay taxes on virtually every dollar that they make because they tend to spend every dollar that they make. Rich people, however, and corporations, they make way more than they spend. So this benefits them any way you look at it. But wait, that's not all. There's more. Republicans are looking to do more cuts. Louisiana Republicans said the measure advanced their goal of ultimately eliminating the income tax in the future. And in case you still weren't clear on who the Republicans actually care about protecting with all of this, here is what GOP Representative Julie Emerson said out loud. She said, income tax is a mandate. You have to pay it. You get punished for making more money, said Republican Representative Julie Emerson, who spearheaded the legislation. She argued consumption-based taxes were more fair. Sales tax is a choice, Emerson said. Sharon, is it a choice? Is consumption always a choice? I know we've talked a lot about financial disparities in this country and a lot of economic inequality. And a lot of that economic inequality dictates the ways in which people spend their money and the things that they spend their money on. So, I mean, I think this is, as you said earlier, a very privileged stance to take when you say something like consumption is a choice. It's not always.
No, it's about survival for some people. We learned that with the abortion issue, quite frankly. You know, people wondered why so many white women who polled in ways that were just so against what Donald Trump did really doing away with Roe v. Wade, yet voted for him anyway. And I think it's a simple reason, because they can still afford to have the choice of abortion. They can fly, go where they need to go, get the care they need to get, while other people are dying in the waiting room or in the parking lot of these hospitals. So to utter the phrase consumption is a choice, it's akin to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, figure it out. And it's just not rooted in reality.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think it is it's very short-sighted, it's very self-serving, and it says a lot about the way that Americans really just don't understand each other anymore, right? We don't understand the way that different Americans are living. And I think that was a great example you gave with the abortion issue. You know, certain things just aren't a problem for people, or they just aren't going to be a problem for people. Even if there are laws in their own state that are against them, it's still not really registering in their brains as that's a problem for me, right? And then a lot of these people, you know, empathy is like a whole other thing to them that's, you know, that's not even part of this conversation. But it kind of reminds me of Rudy Giuliani and how he was talking about, like, I don't have any cash, I don't have any credit cards, I don't have any this or that. He seems fine, right? He's not destitute, he's not living on the streets. He's still able to take a shower, put on a nice suit, and get himself to a courthouse to you know, yell at the judge, right? And that's what he was doing in there. He was yelling at the judge, he was yelling at his attorneys. He is still living an incredibly privileged life. And when he says that he has a little bit of cash that he's held on to, what is his definition of a little bit of cash? Some people have like less than $50 in their checking accounts and maybe little to no credit, right? So there's a very wide disparity as to the ways in which different Americans live their lives in this one country. And a lot of times whenever Republicans are pushing forth these things and they say things like, oh, income tax, you know, that's theft, or you're getting punished for making more money, a lot of people, even lower earners, people who don't earn quite as much, they still say, yeah, you're right, because that's aspirational for them. But in the meantime, it is hurting them, and it's actually stifling their ability to get to a higher place in their lives. Final thoughts, Sharon, before we wrap up this hour.
I think you put it beautifully. What is stress? Stress, and I do believe Rudy Giuliani is stressed by his own doing, okay? But stress is not who's going to get my, you know, souvenir Hall of Fame MLB rings, and how do I keep my penthouse New York apartment or my Florida condo or whatever the heck he's trying to do. Stress is, I don't know where I'm going to go, and I don't even have credit to get a place to live. And I've got kids to feed. So the people making the policy are severely out of touch, just by nature, but also by nurture. They want to be out of touch. They don't want to be curious. They're not like us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And since we're on the topic here of states cutting things, I mean, there's this article here from ABC News written by Phil Gallowitz. And it's entitled, 9 States Are Poised to End Coverage for Millions If Trump Cuts Medicaid Funding. With Donald Trump's return to the White House and Republicans taking full control of Congress, the Affordable Care Act's Medicaid expansion is back on the chopping block. More than 3 million adults in 9 states would be at immediate risk of losing their health coverage should the GOP reduce the extra federal Medicaid funding that's enabled states to widen eligibility, according to KFF, a health information nonprofit that includes KFF Health News and the Georgetown University Center for Children and Families. That's because the states have trigger laws that would swiftly end their Medicaid expansions if federal funding fails. The states are Arizona, Arkansas, Illinois, Indiana, Montana, New Hampshire, North Carolina, Utah, and Virginia. The 2010 Affordable Care Act encouraged states to expand Medicaid programs to cover more low-income Americans who didn't get health insurance through their jobs. 40 states and the District of Columbia agreed, extending health insurance since 2014 to an estimated 21 million people and helping drive the U.S. uninsured rate to record lows. In exchange, the federal government pays 90% of the cost to cover the expanded population. That's far higher than the federal match for other Medicaid beneficiaries, which averages about 57% nationwide. Conservative policy groups, which generally have opposed the ACA, just silly, says the program costs too much. Yeah, saving a life is too much, right? And covers too many people. Democrats say the Medicaid expansion has saved lives and helped communities by widening coverage to people who could not afford private insurance. If Congress cuts federal funding, Medicaid expansion would be at risk in all states that have opted into it, even those without the trigger laws, because state legislatures would be forced to make up the difference, said Renuka Tirpureni, an associate professor at the University of Michigan's School of Public Health. Decisions to keep or roll back the expansion, quote, would depend on the politics at the state level, unquote, she said. For instance, Michigan approved a trigger as part of its Medicaid expansion in 2013, when it was controlled by a Republican governor and legislature. Last year, with the government controlled by Democrats, the state eliminated its funding trigger. 6 of the 9 states with trigger laws, Arizona, Arkansas, Indiana, Montana, North Carolina, and Utah, went for Trump in the 2024 election. They cut their own throats. Most of the 9 states' triggers kick in if federal funding falls below the 90% threshold. Arizona's trigger would eliminate its expansion if funding falls below 80%. Montana's law rolls back expansion below 90% funding but allows it to continue if lawmakers identify additional funding. Under state law, Montana lawmakers must reauthorize its Medicaid expansion or the expansion will end. Across the states with triggers, between 3.1 million and 3.7 million people would swiftly lose their coverage. Researchers at KFF and the Georgetown Center estimate the difference depends on how states treat people who were added to the Medicaid before the ACA expansion. They may continue to qualify even if the expansion ends. 3 other states, Iowa, Idaho, and New Mexico, have laws that require their governments to mitigate the financial impact of losing federal Medicaid expansion funding, but would not automatically end expansions. With those 3 states included, about 4.3 million Medicaid expansion enrollees would be at risk of losing coverage, according to KFF. The ACA allowed Medicaid expansions to adults with incomes up to 138% of the federal poverty level, or about $20,783 for an individual in 2024. Nearly a quarter of the 81 million people enrolled in Medicaid nationally are in the program due to expansions. Quote, with a reduction in the expansion match, rate, it is likely that all states would need to evaluate whether to continue expansion coverage because it would require a significant increase in state spending, unquote, said Robin Rudowitz, a vice president and director of the program on Medicaid and the uninsured at KFF. Quote, if states drop coverage, it is likely that there would be an increase in the number of uninsured, and that would limit access to care across red and blue states that have adopted the expansion, unquote. States rarely cut eligibility for social programs such as Medicaid once it's been granted. The triggers make it politically easier for state lawmakers to end Medicaid expansion because they would not have to take any new action to cut coverage, said Edwin Park, a research professor at the Georgetown University Center for Children and Families. To see the impact of trigger laws, consider what happened after the Supreme Court in 2022 struck down Roe v. Wade and, with it, the constitutional right to an abortion. Conservative lawmakers in 13 states had crafted trigger laws that would automatically implement bans in the event a national right to abortion were struck down. Those state laws resulted in restrictions taking effect immediately after the court ruling or shortly thereafter. States adopted triggers as part of Medicaid expansion to win over lawmakers skeptical of putting state dollars on the hook for a federal program unpopular with most Republicans. It's unclear what Trump and congressional Republicans will do with Medicaid after he takes office in January, but one indicator could be a recent recommendation from the Paragon Health Institute, a leading conservative policy organization led by former Trump health advisor Brian Blasey. Paragon has proposed that starting in 2026, the federal government would phase down the 90% federal match for expansion until 2034, when it would reach parity with each state's federal match for its traditional enrollees. Under that plan, states could still get ACA Medicaid expansion funding, but restrict coverage to enrollees with incomes up to the federal poverty level. Currently, to receive expansion funding, states must offer coverage to everyone up to 138% of the poverty level. Daniel Dirksen, director of the Center for Rural Health at the University of Arizona, said it's unlikely Arizona would move to eliminate its trigger and make up for lost federal funds. It would be a tough sell right now, as it would put a big strain on the budget, he said. Medicaid has been in the crosshairs of Republicans in Washington before. Republican congressional leaders in 2017 proposed legislation to cut federal expansion funding, a move that would have shifted billions in costs to states. That plan, part of a strategy to repeal Obamacare, the ACA, ultimately failed. Okay, and you know, cuts are what Trump was all talking about, him and Elon Musk. Okay, and a lot of other things are on the chopping block too, including Social Security, veterans benefits, things like that. That's all going to be on the table here when they're talking about cuts, because they specifically mention mandated spending in part of the budget that need to be cut because, oh, we can't sacrifice, you know, our military funding. We can't sacrifice, you know, other things. You know, we have to start looking at that. Well, that's just an excuse, because for decades they have always been looking at, you know, these kind of things, which they call handouts. Okay, they even call Social Security a fucking handout. You know what? It ain't a handout. When you work, all your paychecks, a little bit's taken out of all your paychecks to put into the Social Security system, which you get back, or you're supposed to get back, in full when you reach retirement age. That's not a handout. That's you handing yourself back the money you've been putting in there. It's like me having a savings account. And when I want to go to the bank to take money out of my savings account, you know, if somebody calls it, they're giving you a handout. It's like, no, it ain't. It's my own goddamn money. I put it in there myself. You know, that's what the Social Security thing is. It's a savings account. Christ, how many fucking ways can, you know, explain this to Republicans so they can quit sucking up that fucking bullshit narrative that Fox News put out, you know? Christ. All right, here's another video here of a lady here who found a way to kind of convince people about the need to not get rid of people, you know, deport people out of her area, because hey, the Haitians in this city have bolstered our economy. We've got businesses opening up all the, you know. So here's a video. You're gonna like this one.
I can't believe these Haitian immigrants would come here and fill jobs that local Springfield residents would not or could not do. And now they've raised the average city wage for both Springfield and Clark County. They're paying income tax to the city that the city desperately needs for services like police and fire. They're making some of the local losers look bad by their example. It's unbelievable.
You're about to witness a masterclass in combating right-wing propaganda and tearing down the entire belief system that justifies the right's cruelty from this amazing resident of Springfield, Ohio.
The Haitian immigrants are working overtime to save up money to buy up all the dilapidated, condemned, and boarded up homes in Springfield, then fixing those houses up to make them livable again. This is raising property values across the city and county to the point where the valuation of all real estate in the city surpassed $1 billion last year for the first time ever. This in turn increases the property tax that's paid to Clark County for those homes that are now no longer boarded up nuisances. How awful. I can't believe they're helping to fund our government and beautify our neighborhoods. These Haitian immigrants.
This is a brilliant approach from Amanda because it directly debunks the false narrative Republicans push that immigrants are exploiting taxpayer-funded programs, essentially stealing benefits from American citizens. In reality, immigrant communities help fund said programs just like everyone else. And in Springfield's case, have actually increased funding by helping to raise everyone's property values. But you'll never hear that from Republicans because earlier this year, a group representing 170 Republican elected officials sent out a budget proposal that would cut $1.5 trillion of Social Security benefits over the next 10 years, in addition to raising the federal retirement age to 69 years old, whether it be roads, bridges, schools, Social Security, Medicare, or any other government service. The Republican Party is fundamentally opposed to using the tax revenue our labor generates to provide us with the basic services we deserve. Now, more from Amanda.
These Haitian immigrants are now spending money in our community to where new restaurants and retail spaces keep opening up across the city. And not just businesses run by Haitian. What absolute madness. Now we have new businesses in town generating more tax revenue for our city and county. I have a good paying job with great benefits. I don't need SNAP or TAMP, but because I have main character syndrome and the entire world should revolve around me, I want the exorbitant benefits that some of these Haitian immigrants get, which is $292 for SNAP, aka food stamps, and $363 in cash per month for a single adult. Everyone knows that $655 per month lets you live like a millionaire in Springfield. I don't need it, but I want it before anyone else. Because why should we help folks who have legally come to our country, but they have to wait for their work permit so they don't starve, feeding the hungry in our community?
You could not find a better summary and explanation of the mindset these right-wingers live with. Instead of being happy that our government is providing the literal bare necessities for someone to live, they see it as an unfair, unjustifiable affront to their existence, and explicitly or not, would rather see people die in the streets instead of minding their own business and letting these people live their lives.
As the senator from the great state of Ohio, J.D. Vance, said back in 2021, childless cat ladies are ruining America. As a childless cat lady, I take my duty to ruin America very seriously. I do this by simply choosing to live my life differently than J.D. Vance's personal religious beliefs would dictate me to do. Mayor Rue, Commissioners Estrop, Brown, Houston, and Tackett, I hope you sit up there and think about what you've done. Because of your support of the Haitian community and the rest of Springfield and Clark County, how am I supposed to ruin America if I can't even ruin Springfield first? I am so disappointed in you. Thank you.
A massive shout out to Amanda Richardson for standing up for her Haitian neighbors and the town of Springfield as it continues to deal with the manufactured onslaught of hate from J.D. Vance, Donald Trump, and the Republicans who have unleashed hell on their community. And another massive shout out goes to this man.
This is for my Haitian friend. Don't let anybody's ignorance, hate, drama, or negativity stop you from being the best person you can be. Some people are wanting to see you fail. Some people are waiting to see you quit. Let them wait forever. The best thing you learn from the worst time of your life is that you get to see the true color of everybody. And I appreciate you, and I want to compliment y'all. You're doing a good job regardless what somebody else say, but we all got to remember, we can't never please everybody.
It's pretty hard to argue with facts, isn't it? Especially when it's presented in such a way as to enlighten people, exactly what benefits, this country has had, having people do work, labor, and stuff like that, Americans don't want to do. Okay? And how it's, when they create jobs, they're adding into the tax system in that area so the city can have money to be able to do things, to improve the town, to, open up business. I mean, Jesus Christ, what the hell is wrong with that? For some reason, the wealthy seem to think that the country can do just fine if it had no taxes at all. Really. I'd like to ask anybody, you know, who's ever lived in this country, okay, you know, what it would be like if we didn't have a police force, a fire department, a post office, healthcare coverage, you know, that's paid for by the government, you know, no military, you know, what it's like, you know, what would it be like? How would America look today if we didn't have any of that stuff? Okay? Because I'll tell you, you know, you're not going to be able to depend on corporate America to provide those services for you without a fee, and it's going to be way more than the tax that you would have to pay to the government to get those things. Okay? Imagine what a stamp would cost if you had to buy it from some goddamn corporation. Yeah. It would put an end to mail delivery, that's for damn sure. You know, because nobody would be using that ever again. So, you know, people really, you know, I know it's difficult for some, especially for some of my watchers here, to critically think about something before you open your mouth. You know, that's something that, you know, that should have been taught to you as you was growing up. You know, think before you speak. But you guys, you just speak whenever you don't think. And that's why a lot of the stuff you say is like gobbledygook. I mean, you know, when we sit here, we like, what? What the fuck did you just say? You know, like what I was telling you about the Obamacare, ACA, flip-flop. You know, people, you know, because you don't think. You just open your yap because you're so opinionated you can't shut your mouth. You know, so you'll stand on a slippery slope spouting like you know everything while you're falling down into the fucking lava pit there like Anakin Skywalker. Oh, you people, you know, it takes a community to enlighten MAGA, and unfortunately my voice alone ain't going to be able to do that, but my voice coupled with a lot of other voices out there probably will. But it won't happen. It won't click until these people actually get into the new world reality that Trump is going to deliver onto this country. And for these people who are arrogantly assuming it's going to be such a glorious day for this country when he's sworn in, they're going to fall the hardest. And these people are going to be the ones that's going to need a pick-me-up from the rest of us who knew this was coming. So we're already ready, you know, for what's to come. You guys aren't, so that's going to hurt you guys the most, you people out there. It really is, you know. And be arrogant, be stupid, do all these things. Get it out now while you can, because when the day comes, when he's in there, and it's coming soon, that's it. Your days of fun and games are over. All right, so let's call it a day here, and subscribe, comment, and share. And keep your ears open for health-related matters. And, you know, treat each other nice out there. It's the holiday season. Do it, enjoy it while you can, because next Christmas, I fear a lot of people are not going to be able to do as well, you know, however it be. I mean, it's just going to be just like what happened the first time Trump was president. It was a lot of misery to go around, to be sure. A lot of funerals and a lot of bad things. All right, talk to you guys later.